Welcome back, everybody, to the channel that hasn't had a video in a long time. Today's episode, we are going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be rebuilding the hub on my 96 Isuzu Trooper. Not too long ago, I busted a couple CV shafts. There's one there. That's a good one. I'll show you a bad one right now. So this is the CV axle. As you can see, I busted that pretty good. And this was going to into the differential housing. So that's the bad one. I already put the new one in, but I didn't account for the fact that since it broke inside there, I had to take all this apart. I already dropped the differential and replaced the spine and replaced the CV axle and all that good jazz. But what I didn't account for was when it broke, I took the whole thing out while we were out wheeling, and I just duct taped up that portion right there. But I completely forgot about this side. And obviously I took out the whole shaft. I removed it from the hub with the circlip and all that. But I left that open because I couldn't really seal it. And a lot of water, obviously from off-roading, creek riding, raining, snowing, all that stuff. The salt delayed down on the roads the past few days because it's been super cold here in Tennessee. All that stuff is getting in there. And I completely forgot about that until I pulled out my hub, my locking hub, my manual locking hub. And you can see, it looks disgusting. That's what it looks like. It's just water and grease all getting gunked up together. And it's not very lubricant or lubricating. And this is the other side. I haven't taken off the main hub because I don't need to really service this side. It's good, it never broke. Well, it did break, but the cup stayed inside of there, see? So it's still sealed up with all the seals and everything, the gaskets. So this side is good, and all that orange stuff is just grease that's getting used. So I'm gonna take this wheel off and replace the CV axle anyway, so I have them both, jacked up and flowing. But let's see. So that one spins for a little while, and I'll try and kick this one just as hard. Get a good grip on it. Oh, well, might help if I had it bolted down, right? Anyways, I already did the test once before, and this tire stops a lot faster because that grease is not doing good. So step one of this process, I kind of skipped it. It's really simple. If you have a locking hub, it's just these right here. So for mine, it's an Allen set, or big Allen bolts. If you have the factory, it's still an Allen key. It's a 5/16, and then it's 10 millimeters to pull this off right here, to pull off the cap. And behind that cap, you're gonna have a circlip holding on the actual axle or the CV shaft. So you see the little notch right there. That's where the circlip inserts. So after you get that unbolted, you go ahead and just take off your tire with, your impactor, breaker bar, or whatever, tire iron. There, and that brings you to here, to this portion of it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove my brake caliper, which is just the bolts here. I'm going to undo it from the bracket, not from the actual caliper portion. So I believe these are 19s. I could be wrong. They could, yeah, those look like 19s. They could be 20s. After you remove that, you're going to want to zip tie this up somewhere. I usually just get it and I zip tie it up around this hard line on top of the upper control arm. That way it doesn't put a lot of strain on your brake line. And then we'll get started after that. So I actually got that wrong. It's a 22 millimeter, which is a little intense for brake caliper bracket, but I guess it is a pretty big SUV. So we're gonna go ahead and break it loose. They're on there pretty good, so I recommend using a decently long breaker bar or ratchet and socket. But once you get it loose enough, I already did the bottom one. Get my charging pack over here. You should be able to go ahead and just wiggle them loose by hand, and yeah, it's already pretty loose. So we'll go ahead and take that out. So there is two. There's one located on the top, which is this one, and there's one located on the bottom, which is this one right here. And they both come out. You could Well, this is the easiest way to do it in my opinion, because you don't take it apart all the way. I've seen a lot of people that'll take off the actual caliper first and then they'll take off the bracket, but I like to do it all in one just because it saves you, like I said, having to have multiple different parts and multiple different bolts everywhere. So there are washers on these. Do not lose those, because I mean, they're split washers. These ones looks like they're not very split anymore. But those are the jobs. So just place those somewhere that you're gonna remember where they are, and then you're gonna go ahead and just wiggle off your brake caliper like this. And I'm gonna go get a zip tie and secure it up right there, or even safety wire, electrical wire, whatever you have works. A bungee cord, anything just to keep the stress off of this line right here. Or the brake caliper squared away, you know, tied up out the way. You have this free. You can hear that doesn't sound very good. Yeah, doesn't sound the best. So there's gonna be 2 or 3, in my case 2, because I've done this before and one of the little screws broke. You're gonna wanna be really careful taking these out, because if you strip them, you're gonna have the time of your life. So they're gonna be in a triangular pattern, so it'll be one here, and if you have the third one, it'll be there. So you'll go ahead and just take these out. Like I said, you're gonna wanna push real hard and find the right screwdriver that fits. A number 2 screwdriver works the best. If you have one of the little impact things where, you know, where you click them and it pops them, try that first. If you feel like it's about to strip, you need to rethink your plan, because of course there's ways you can get them out. You can just drill out the heads and then you have to re-drill, or you have to take out that. Try not to lose them either, because these little things are hard to find. After you get that out, it's just a matter of breaking this lock ring free. So all you're gonna do is just get like a flathead or something. So after you get your flathead, this little ring, I don't know if you can see it going up and down, you want to try and get it out. So I found it easiest that you can kind of just move it up, but if you don't have any luck with that, you get a little pick tool, right, and just kind of get it to go into one of these bad boys. Slide it out. So this is our lock ring right here. That guy needs new brakes, so we're gonna put this down, and then we're gonna get the main lock ring, which you can't really tell. It's in here. So there's a port here, and there's a port here, and then there's a port here. So the easiest way to do that, let's see, set this down real quick, is to basically find where one of them is, and then try and find another one with a circlip remover or something else. Yeah, and then you twist it. Now as you loosen this, your hub assembly is gonna be ready to come off. So you just break it loose all the way. We'll use this little clip right here, or this pick tool, and just back it all the way out. Now you want to remember which direction this goes on. It'll only thread on one way, because it has little grooves on this side, and then it has indentions on this side for your actual inputs of the 3 screws. So this, you can see here, this is what I was talking about when I said it's a triangular pattern. So you have one on the bottom, one on the top, and one on the top. So that's where your 3 inserts go. And then this is your lock ring. I forget what they call it. It's not a chamfer. I don't remember what they call that. It's like a small indention for your lock ring to sit flush in there. So we'll just put that over there. And you want to remember what order you take everything out of. So you're going to get all your tools kind of squared away, get them out. Figure out where I can put this camera so you get a decent angle. That's good enough right there. So now your hub assembly is basically free to come off. It is heavy. You want to be careful not to lose your bearings or anything, because they do fall out fairly easy. But as you can see, this is what I was talking about. This gunk. It's still grease, but it's very, very, yeah, you can see the water bubbles in there. That's from all the moisture. So this is not good anymore. That's, if I would have kept driving around like this, it would eventually got hot, heating up. You can already see it starting to heat up there from where it's running around with very little grease. So I'll take this and I'll clean it all up. I'll probably end up just dropping the whole spindle or the knuckle assembly, which if you did the ball joint flip for the Trooper, it's super easy. You just remove your top 3 and your bottom 4. So in total you have 7, which there's right there. Those are 17s all the way around. It's pretty easy to get them all, like I said, especially if you did the top ball joint flip. That way I can pull out the CV shaft from in its port, and I can lubricate that as well after I rebuild this. Which you can see here that this bearing it's still in good condition. Doesn't look like it's scored up very bad, but it can definitely, I'm gonna drench it in some purple power, get it all cleaned up, wash it, clean all the needle bearings and everything. And then I'm gonna do the same thing up here on this side. I'll clean out this whole little port right here. If you wanted to, you could remove the rotor from the hub itself. That makes it just a little bit easier, but not that much easier. I think you might actually have to do that to get this bearing out. I don't remember. If you do, I'll show that process and everything. But I think that bearing you can just pack from the inside. But yeah, you can see this is all very, very watery and watered down. It's not even thick anymore. It's not even grease. It's just gunk. So I'll get all this cleaned up and I'll get that torn apart, and then I'll show you guys the process of rebuilding it. So I went ahead and took off the rotor just so it's a little easier to maneuver around in the parts washer. Unfortunately, the pump doesn't work, so I'm stuck just using a sprayer. But before you get ahead of yourself, you want to take out as much of the excess grease as possible. So you are going to want to put gloves on for that. Let me figure out where I can put you guys. See the process of this. Something like that right there. Does that look good to you guys? Yeah, you like that? I think, I can't really tell because there's a motor right there too. But you don't want to put your gloves on, of course, because you don't have to if you don't want to. But gloves are nice. Who's ready? I don't know. You can tell I don't do this very often. So now that you got your gloves on, you're just gonna take your finger and you want to get all this junk out. You don't really want to just throw this in the bottom of the parts washer, so let's just get it and put it in a rag. It's already full of junk, and you just want to get out as much as possible from the tight little crooks and such. You know, run your finger along the top of it, on the bottom, you know, it's anywhere that you can see big chunks of grease. So it looks pretty good. And then after that, of course, you can take a rag and reach down in there and clean out quite a bit more. Get that back in the shot. And then of course you can do it from the opposite side as well. Now all these seals that I have in here are relatively new. They're probably only a few months old, not even 50,000 miles, I wouldn't say. They're very new. I just did this whole ordeal when I first got the Trooper running. I'm only having to do it again because I had a mishap and it caused me to basically cook this assembly in ways that I shouldn't have. So now that you got it relatively clean, you can see that there's not very much grease left. It's mostly on the rags and such. This one you can go ahead and obviously dispose of the rag first. So now you can go ahead and just start drenching it with Purple Power or parts cleaner or brake parts cleaner or whatever, any type of degreaser. Purple Power works the best, in my opinion. You just want to get it nice and soaked. All ends of it, every little spot. So it eats away at any grime or grease or whatever that's left in there. So I'm gonna let that sit for a little bit. Go ahead and clean off my gloves. Just because I got gloves doesn't mean I need to have dirty gloves. So I'll let this sit and kind of degrease itself on its own for a little bit. Let it break down some of the stuff. I'll go ahead and do this bearing as well. You can see that. I'm trying to get in every little crook, every little cranny, every little port, just completely soaked up, just like that. See, there's no spot missed. I'll go ahead and just set that in there. That way, whatever leaks down and helps aid the process as well. So while that sits there and soaks for a couple minutes, I'm gonna go inside and get myself something to eat. I'll call this break time. Let it clean itself up. So when we come back, we'll start agitating it with our brushes and so on and so forth. You use something big like this to clean it out or whatever. So we'll get back to this in a second. Turn off all of our lights and stuff. That way we're not wasting too much power. Let's go eat something. Obviously, I'm not going to record that, but yeah. Now that it's sat there and soaked for a little while, we're going to continue. Cleaned up a little bit. I still need to get out this back bearing that's on the inside of the hub. So I came over to my vise and I'm just gonna get it tightened down up in there, just like that right there. Not too tight because I don't need I don't need some serious tension on it. But I went ahead and got a big socket. As you can see, it's just 38 millimeter. It's an axle nut socket. I'm gonna take the big end and put it down in there on that race. I'm trying to get it centered up as best as possible. Yeah. All right, so once it's in there, you'll go ahead and just take your hammer, and that should pop out the bottom with a couple hits, so we'll see. There we go. Sorry about the bad angle. So go ahead and break this loose and remove the hub and the socket. So there's all my junk that I needed to get out. And here's my bearing that I'm gonna clean up and repack as well, same as I did with the other one. So you can see it's all nasty. And this is the seal. The seal looks like it's still good. A little bit of damage right there, but it's all right. I'll clean this up too, and I'll put some Vaseline or whatever grease on it to lube it up a little bit. We're gonna take these back to the parts washer. Just over here. So I'll take these back. Just clean off my glove real quick. Start drenching. So I'm basically just gonna do the same process that I did with the other parts, and then I'll repack them, and I'll show that as well. So that's pretty much it for teardown. As far as teardown goes, that's all that's involved. For the hub, I still need to do the spindle. I guess that's what you'd call it, the thing that goes inside. I need to grease that up because there's a bearing in there. But I'm gonna get this all washed up, squared away, and then we'll throw it all back together in the next video. Now that I have everything cleaned up, as you can see, the bearings are nice and clean and dry. There's a little bit of lint in them. I'll probably just blow that out. So I just used Purple Power. I scrubbed them and cleaned them out, and then I used a leaf blower, actually, or you could use a hair dryer, heat gun, blowtorch, anything to get all the excess moisture out. Obviously these aren't in the best of shape. They have a little bit of surface rust, which won't hurt anything. When I pack them in with new grease, they'll be fine. And like I said, this seal is still pretty much brand new. Any surface rust you see on all these parts are very new. They've been exposed to moisture for about 2 months now, since the 4th of July, I believe, actually. So a lot more than a few months. But as you can see, they all spin fine with no grease in them. Before, with the grease that was in there, they were locked up. They weren't even spinning by hand. I'd have to actually force them. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some grease. I'm gonna mix it up, obviously, because it's been cold outside, so it's heating and cooling. I'm gonna get it all up. So mix that up, scoop these in there. I'm gonna do the palm pack. You can use the packers. I like using my palm just because I know it gets into everything. I'll see where I can set you guys up so you can get a view of that. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So we're gonna take the bearing. This is the back bearing. So this, or I don't know if this would be the inner. I believe this would be the inner, maybe, because this goes on the inside of the hub and here like that. So that goes there. So we're gonna do this one first, just because it's the biggest, and I have to press it in as well. So we're gonna take our grease. It's just Valvoline multi-purpose. Now there is a little brush in here. I'm just gonna use that to kind of mix up the grease a little bit because it has separated just a little bit. Get it all mushed up the way I need it. Okay. Now that I got that, I'm gonna take my bearing. I'm just gonna get a scoop of it and put it on my palm. And then what you're gonna do in order to pack this into place, super simple. So there's this big notch right here, as you can see right here in this notch, and you're just gonna pack it in until it comes out the top. So you're just gonna do this right here, over and over and over and over until it starts popping out the top of it. So that's the easiest way to do it. Like I said, you can use a grease packer. They make them, they sell them, obviously because they work. I just prefer this method. It's a little more redundant, and I can pack in as much as I need, really. So I'm just trying to keep all the extra. So you just do little grabs of grease. And you keep on packing it. As you can see, it's barely starting to poke through in between the little bearings right there. So you're just going to keep on going until it gets all the way through. So you see right there, now it's starting to pop out. That's what we want. That's what we're going for. So it's coming out in between the needles. And you're just going to do that all the way around the entire bearing. The entire thing, you're just going to continuously just pack, and pack, and pack, and pack, and pack, and pack, and pack. And then you're going to get a little bit more grease. And then you're going to continue to just pack it in there. Now this is one of those things that you want to be sure of. I mean, yeah, this bearing spins around. It'll get evenly greased after a while, but why wait a while when it can be done right now? And you know it's going to not have any metal on metal contact or anything. So this is packed up pretty good now. I'll just get all the extra and I'll lube it all up basically. And just push whatever excess I have, as much of it down in between the needles as possible. Now that I have it like that, I'll go ahead and just drop it down in there. I'll probably go ahead and throw a little bit of grease in here just for the heck of it. So I'll grease all this up right here. I'll throw a nice little glob all the way around. That way it's all lubricated real nice. Because again, this is what makes your truck roll. This will affect a lot of stuff. This will burn up stuff that you don't want to be burnt up. Huh? The camera. Yeah, man. That's what I'm trying to do. You know, come say what's up, man. Talking about my dad over there. So now that it's in there, all packed up, I'll take my seal, which goes in this way right here. Get that, and it's just okay. So now that it's like that, we're just gonna go around and tap it all the way in there. Bam, there you go. You can tell it's all the way flush whenever you hear the sound, because that's hitting on the hub housing and not on the little thing. Now we're gonna move on to this side, which is the same exact method, the same exact technique. So I'll skip this part. You guys already know what to do. It's just a smaller bearing. This sits in there, and then the hub is pretty much done. It's rebuilt, it's packed together, it's free. So we're gonna do this right now. Now it's time to reassemble everything. So that's still greased, like I said. I went ahead and greased the inner shaft. That was pretty easy. All you do is just disconnect the upper ball joint, lower ball joint, slide CV shaft out, and then I lubed up the CV shaft input or the splines, and they go through the hole. That way it all spins freely. Now all I need to do is put the ball joint back on And this is what I was talking about, how it's flipped. So usually this port would sit on top of this right here, but instead you just put it on the bottom, and that gives you a little bit better angle for when you lift it up. So that's that. If you didn't have it flipped, you would have to remove the castle nut from the bottom, which is a complete pain. As far as removing the bottom ball joint, you just move it from the lower control arm, which, like I said, it's 4 bolts. I already have it all tightened up and ready to go. I just need to, like, these are all tightened, torque spec and everything. Now I just need to mount this back up, and then I can reinstall my hub after I put the rotor back on it, and that'll all be greased up and ready to go. And then this side is completely done, and I can move on to the next side. I'm gonna go ahead and redo the next side. Even though I don't have to, I'm gonna do it anyways, just because, why not? If I'm doing this side, I want that side to be the same way, so they'll match. And we'll call it a, well, no, we still got a little bit of light left. I'll probably go ahead and do the other side, the CV axle, and then we'll call it a night. Because I need to get this done before New Year's Eve, because we're going off-roading. A lot of preparation, a lot of work, but hey, it's all part of the game. Got to pay to play. So this is the end of, no, actually it's not the end. The end will be whenever I put it all back together and show you that it spins. So keep watching. In typical fashion, I got in a rush and I didn't record the reassembly portion, but it went together the same exact way it came apart. It spun 1,000 times better. I also had to do some other stuff. So, truck's out there, all put back together. Works fine. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below what you want to see next, or if you want me to go into greater detail on something that I missed out on. Maybe I'll keep doing series like this. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I really should have done another install video on the CB radios that we did. You can see the pole right there, and then another pole right there. We did CB installs on all of our rigs. But yeah, catch you on the flip.